What's going on, everybody? It's SJG. Welcome to the latest edition of D2 HBCU Football Matters. And man, do we have a treat for you guys tonight? First of all, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. Please make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe as well, and of course, hit the notifications as well. I know we have a lot of you guys that are in here every week. So myself and Chris, appreciate you. Chris, first off, how you doing today? How you feeling today, man?
I'm all right, man. It's the middle of the week, so you got the other job to pay some of the bills, man. It's been rough.
Look, it has been a week. I don't know if you're gonna make it to make it, but it's happy homecoming weekend to you, as well. Um, but we may talk about those folks in a little bit, but anyway, we got a great show for you guys today. We've got one of the head coaches of one of the up and coming programs in HBCU football. They really have really just come out of not out of nowhere, but they've really just quickly come onto the SIC scene, and they've become a force this year. And as head coach Toriano Morgan of Edward Waters University. But before we get started, because we definitely want to make sure we get our guy Kendrick. He's en route, but we don't want him to miss this smoke that is coming his way, that he has so justly earned. So we want to make sure we touch on that. But until we get to there, a little bit of serious business. Let's talk about St. Augustine's University. Chris, we put out the story a little bit earlier this week about all the issues that they've been having since the last time we spoke on this show. We had head coach Howard Fagan's cut after 6 games, and it comes out a little bit later this week. He's talking about some of the issues he's faced. You've been covering the CIAA for quite a while now. I don't know how many head coaches you've seen at St. Aug. I'm guessing it's probably about 5 or 6 at least. What are your thoughts on what's going on at St. Aug over there in Raleigh? What we heard, at least, and then as someone who follows the CIAA very closely.
Well, the issue at St. Aug isn't anything new. The fact that we have yet another head coach that gets cut, gets fired with cause, by the way, because that with cause is important. You fire somebody with cause, it means you don't have to pay them. And in order to they let go of him, they let go of David Bowser, not even a calendar year ago. It's the same old story of a school that seemingly is just trying to stay alive, quite honestly. I mean, it's important to note in Division II, like private schools, sometimes you can have a large chunk of your student body is athletes, and that's not uncommon in the Division II world. But what's problematic is things like he mentioned that St. Aug had upped their scholarship count to 34. Well, why are you giving that many scholarships out if you can't even meet the basic needs of the athletes that you have on the roster? What's the point? You might as well go with a lower number and get them what they need so that they can compete at a higher level. And I think you kind of see that with like Bowie State, who traditionally has had a lower count of scholarships and have done very well with that. You even see that with Elizabeth City, who, despite their record, they're doing, they're actually making strides and improving the programs, and they don't have a lot of scholarships. So it just seems like the focus at St. August is, I don't know, maybe it's just on the wrong thing, or maybe they're just trying to get enrollment dollars or something like that. But it doesn't really do the athletes any justice, student athletes any justice. It doesn't do Coach Fagan's any justice. And it's not like the St. Aug administration is saying a whole lot about this whole thing. I mean, they're not even trying to do PR to try to save face right now, which is really troubling. In a situation, this is a crisis situation where you need to do something to speak out, and they've chosen to not do that. It was really interesting even on Twitter, because if you think about the head coach before David Bowser, it was Tim Chavis, and Chavis came out and said something as well. And And I just feel like at this point, St. Aug can just have like all the head coaches could have a whole support group because it's just so bad as to time after time we're seeing the same thing happening over and over again. It's just a really bad black eye for St. Aug's administration.
Yeah, really tough stuff there. Of course, they got Winston-Salem State a little bit later this week. But even despite, and I think it's easy, in the sports world, we like to laugh and we like to joke. Obviously, that's how we got into the video for Edward Waters. But we like to laugh and joke and things like that. But things that St. August had going against it are really no laughing matter. And when you look at it, some of those losses, at least recently, you look at. You think about before Bowie State, they played them to a 10-6 game, right? And they were practicing on concrete. You know what I mean? They didn't even have full practice. And where Bowie State was home, they're practicing and all of that stuff. We laughed kind of about the Elizabeth City game where, they just couldn't do anything on offense, but they fought they fought well on defense. So it's just sometimes, man, things are going on that you have no idea about. Again, I think the problems at St. Augustine's University, from what I understand, are much deeper than athletics. And athletics may be one of the things that's keeping the university afloat. But you have to figure out what cost it is to the student athletes. So on the other end of the spectrum, though.
Wait. Before we do that, don't forget that before this Division II football season even started, there was a closure of a football playing private Division II school in Augustine. So I mean, this isn't anything new to HBCUs in particular, but you do have to wonder, with some of the things that he brought up, like SACS accreditation and things like that. Where is St. Aug right now as an institution?
Yeah, great point. Alderson Brodus over in West Virginia did just right before the football season. They pretty much said, "Yeah, we don't have a school anymore." So you got to find somewhere else to go. So as we turn the page, we'll talk about some more news later. But we have a great guest, and he's been on, so I don't want to keep him waiting any longer. We talk about the struggle of one private school to fund football. St. Augustine's brought their program back in the early 2000s, and around the same time, then Edward Waters College started their program, as well as Shaw University up in Raleigh. They were in NAIA world for a long time. They announced that they were going to make the move up to Division II and go to the SIAC and go back to the SIAC, become Edward Waters University. And they went ahead and made a new hire. And I believe it was the spring of 2021. They brought in Coach Toriano Morgan, who is an accomplished coach. He's coached so many different places and left his mark in a lot of different ways. But we're going to bring him on right now. Let him tell you a little bit about himself, talk about his program, what they're building, and then, of course, talk about the la-da-da-da-da-da-da. So we'll get there. But yeah, go ahead, Coach Morgan. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, and I want to firstly start by saying thank you for having us, giving us this platform to share, our program, and we definitely enjoy watching you guys' platform and the way that you report the news week in and week out. So just want to say thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, well, Coach Morgan, we'll get to you guys' season in a second, but tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got to Edward Waters University.
Okay, well, I actually started coaching. I'm a proud graduate of Tennessee State University, where I was fortunate enough to play under LC Cole there, where we won 2 championships and got right into coaching right out of college, as far as being the GA. Then moved to the high school ranks and went back down to South Florida, was there, and then was asked to come to Virginia Union, where I spent a lot of time in the CIAA as the offensive coordinator there for 6 seasons. Then returned to my high school alma mater for a season to become the head coach there at Dillard High School, and then was able to go for 2 seasons to Virginia State University and be the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator under Coach Reggie Barlow and his staff there. And then this opportunity presented itself, and it was very attractive. You could see from the outside looking in that the administration, Dr. Faison, had a vision, and was committed to wanting to move not just the athletic program, but move the entire institution in a positive direction. So the position came open, was able to go through the process, and was blessed to be named the 15th head coach and the first head coach of Edward Waters University.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you for laying out that background that you have there. Very extensive. You've been all over in the coaching ranks, over as far as HBCUs and things like that. Talk about the challenge of being able to really become the first Division two head coach there. I know Florida is a state where there's so many Division one programs, and like literally every program in America, it seems like has some kid from Florida. But what? Talk about the D2 space down there in Florida, and how maybe that helps you guys out in recruiting and things like that.
It definitely does. Once we became an NCAA institution and we moved to Division two, we moved into a space to where that we own. We're the only HBCU Division two program in the state of Florida, and there are only one other Division two program, West Florida, here. So in that Division two space, that kind of gives us a lot of leverage as far as allowing high school student athletes to continue their career right here in the state of Florida, being able to dibble and dabble in the transfer portal, and guys that might be coming back home or looking to come back home for whatever reason, whatever the circumstance is, to come back to the state of Florida and continue their education and continue to compete with football at a high level. And as far as recruiting, where we are as far as being a private institution, it gives us the ability to get into South Georgia, over into Alabama, all the way down to South Florida, and just kind of mark that as our territory for ours, which way. So we're in a space to where student athletes' parents can still come make a day trip of it on Saturday and see them play. So that's been great as far as recruiting model, and the testament to the student athletes that we've been able to attract thus here over the last 2 years.
So Coach, one of we're CIAA guys, and we know that you're in the SIAC, but we really know you from your CIAA days, and you've had stints at two programs in Virginia State and Virginia Union, where you directed some pretty awesome offenses. Talk about the experience that you had there and how that helps out in building up the Edward Waters program.
Well, definitely working under both Coach Mark James and Coach Barlow, allowing me to run those offenses and be creative and be able to be innovative from a standpoint as far as recruiting and some of the systems and things that we did offensively, did give me the opportunity to sit back and learn how to manage, being, serving in different roles as the not just the offensive coordinator, but the associate head coach at Virginia Union, and then the assistant head coach at Virginia State, kind of propelled me and expanded my role as far as from administration and some other off the field duties, taking on that to be able to make sure that as I matriculated and continued to grow, that when it was my time, that I did have that hands-on experience. So, I credit those two gentlemen with trusting me, not with just their offense, but the other off the field stuff, and it just allowed me the opportunity to continue to grow. And as far as offenses, we love to thrive on a specific brand of offense that's wide open, that attracts student athletes, that fits the skill set of a lot of the student athletes that are here in the state of Florida. We mantra it and we model it, saying that we want a Florida-ristic offense and a Florida-fast defense. And that's just kind of been our brand of football. And it's finally taken a turn for us in a positive direction this year. It's being able to actually create that product, mature it, and now actually put it on the field and see the fruits of its labor.
Right. Again, we're talking with Coach Morgan of Edward Waters University. And Coach, when you talk about the product and everything, I think, really, for those of us who've been in the HBCU space for a while, we remember Edward Waters in the NAIA days. A lot of times they would have to play a lot of tough FCS opponents, a lot of teams in the SWAC, sometimes in the MEAC. And so kind of take a beating a little bit. But talk to us also about your president, Dr. Faison. He seems like he's obviously very much into the athletics. I think he had a video, that kind of his own that kind of went viral. But just talk about Dr. Faison and what he does for athletics and how you guys are really shining a new light on this university, as you guys are a brand new university.
Well, you never have to wonder about where Dr. Faison stands with his expectations for the student athletes in the classroom, as well as on the basketball court, on the football field. The expectation is from the top down to everybody to be winners. So with that, that's just the culture that's being created, and the culture of the standard that has to be met day in and day out. So when it's on the sideline, it's a testament and a vision for the young student athletes to be able to see that this administration, from him down to Dr. Rich, is just not about what sounds good. They're actually putting their blood, sweat, and tears, and sweat equity, as well as the necessary finances that's needed to be successful into moving this program in the right manner. A testament to it is the beautiful new stadium we have. We just unveiled a brand new locker room for our football program, as well as our women's basketball and men's program. So he's giving them the resources that they need to be successful, and he's showing them that it's not just talk; it's a vision, and he's moving the institution into that direction, and we just take that lead.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Appreciate you so much again, Coach Morgan. We do have some comments we want to make sure that we acknowledge. Your folks over at the Edward Waters Tigers athletics page. Shout out to you guys. You guys make sure you guys keep it interesting, you keep it fun. Shout out to Ty. She says that I believe she's an Alabama A&M alumnus, got their AD from Edward Waters, Dr. Paul Bryant. Glad to see that mindset is still being welcomed after his departure. I know you're getting shout outs from Coach Bobby Rome over there at Florida Memorial. I know you guys, go at it every year down there in the state of Florida. So Chris, I think you had a question next.
Well, I was just kind of wondering, like, you're kind of on a 4-game win streak now, and that was after having like a 3-game losing streak. What's been the difference in starting that win streak and keeping it going?
Well, truth be told, it wasn't unfamiliar for us. Last year, we actually finished on a 5-game win streak as well. So, we didn't play our best football the first couple games of the season. Some of the games we were right there, but we didn't do enough to win. It was just as simple as that. And so nobody wants to start 0-3, but at that point, we had to sit down and have that come to Jesus meeting about, is this how we want to let the season end up? From a discipline standpoint, correcting penalties, self-inflicted wounds, we just kind of made sure we addressed those and corrected that from that standpoint. And then we were able to come out and winning is contagious. So I always say to these young men, after you experience success and you realize exactly what it takes to be successful for this particular week, you got to be a special individual to want to go back to doing the things that cause you not to be successful. So we've concentrated on those positives, continue to expand on those positives. Blessed to be able to get some outstanding quarterback play over this last 5-week stretch here, which has kind of catapulted us into where we are right now. So we're just taking it one game at a time, and it's on to the next. So this group is very level-headed, realistic. So, we're excited about, the space that we are right now, week 7, still being able to have a say in our own destiny.
Yeah, and before we get to what again and go to the future and again what happened the other week, just talk about this new SIAC format that the guys have, no divisions, and so right now you guys are still in the thick of it. Everybody seems like they're kind of chasing Benedict, but just talk about this new format for you as a coach. What it's been like knowing that it's not just the okay, well the East is won, so we're kind of done. Like what's this added? What is this added for you as a coach? Because we know what it's added for us in terms of excitement as fans.
Well, and I think it's equally as exciting from your perspective as well as our perspective. I think from a conference standpoint, it's increased the brand of exciting football because from the time you start your in-conference schedule, it's playoff football. So with that being understood going into every week, now that you're going to get the level of best from everybody every week because nobody wants to go home. So then to know week in and week out that you're still in this race, you're going to get that much better out of the student athletes, the coaching staffs, the training staffs. So it has a direct byproduct effect on the level of football that you're seeing right now. And just last week in the SIAC, there were some great games that went on. So I think that's the testament to this format and what's been the benefit for saying the fans being able to get out, support their institutions, but also getting their money's worth as far as a product on the football field.
All right. And, with that, we couldn't go any better into what will go down in infamy in Cleve Abbott Stadium that occurred last week. We wanted to make sure we touch on the big games of the week. And, Kendrick, our co-host Kendrick, he's still en route, but he's a big time Tuskegee alumnus, and he lets everyone know that. So we had to talk about the game. So I think we have a clip that just kind of shows how quickly things can change. So
that's all right. We're gonna show them some good hospitality and give them a really good ale on Saturday. So
A few moments later.
Here's the ball game here. Takes the snap. Russell back to pass. Russell looking. Russell's going to throw near side. This one is going to be tipped. It is. Did he make the catch? Gone! Touchdown, Tigers! Touchdown, Tigers! Touchdown, Tigers! Touchdown, Tigers! Arsiah McCorker! Are you kidding me?
Yeah, sleep on Edward Waters if you want to. They're going to make you pay.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe! Man, we still got a lot of football to be played, and there could be a lot more petty to be out there. But right now, Mr. Jackson and his crew over at Edward Waters, you guys are at the front running for the petty, for the inaugural HBCU Game Day Petty Information Directors of the Year. So you're right. You are right there. We're going to ask you just what was going on in that, and then we do have a question from the audience that we would like for you to expound upon. But go ahead, just talk to us. I mean, you're in Cleve Abbott Stadium, historic Cleve Abbott Stadium. You are, they're doing the share, they're doing the ball and parlay thing. Let's be honest. They look at you guys, you're Edward Waters, and you guys are on a win streak, but they're Tuskegee. Mm-hmm. Chris and I know a little bit about this. Sometimes, when you got a little bit of a brand behind you, and you're just kind of used to whooping up on people, you don't expect to be in a dogfight like that. But as Chris said, sleep on Edward. As Chris said,
sleep on Edward Waters if you want to. They're gonna make you pay.
The Prophet of Doom spoke glowingly and prophetically, and you guys, but seriously, we're right there. Just talk about that play and just how big it was, how big that play was, and how big that just that win was for your program. Obviously, you're on to the next, and everybody forgets about the next week. All that good coach speak, we get it. But in terms of your program and everything, just talk about that win for us for a little bit.
It was a monumental win. We know what we are and we can say what we are, but until we actually go out on the field and you get that signature win to show that's who you really are, then that's the only thing that validates it. So going out and getting that signature win this week against a great Tuskegee football program, historic program. This team this year, they were very, competitive. And we were up, I think, 10 points with under 2 minutes left. And, I called the guys up and I told them, listen, just 2 weeks ago, this team was in double overtime. So they've been here before. We got to expect them to swing the momentum here, but we got to withstand it. So we go down, and that might have been the most exciting 2 minutes of football that I've been a part of as a coach. So the biggest thing was by the same young man that actually caught the touchdown. What I thought was the biggest unsung hero was the kickoff return. His kickoff return actually brought it to the plus side of the 50, which now changed mindset as far as play calling with 25 seconds. 25 seconds from the 50 is a totally different thing than 25 seconds from your own 35 yards. So we were able to hit some key plays to get out of bounds to savor some time. And then right before the big catch, we threw one down there. And Devin Thompson got both hands on it. And as he was coming down, it was ripped out. So I think that gave guys the confidence that, listen, we're going to execute this. So we just moved it to the other side. And, Jaron has a very, very strong and live arm. I told him, listen, please just keep it in play and give us an opportunity. Put it between the I and the G. Guys, get down there, make the cup around the I and the G and make the play. And you can see Messiah tracking that football from the time it left his hands. He went up and high pointed it. And at that point, he just wanted it more than everyone on the field at that point. And he came down and changed history for Edward Waters University football as we know it.
And look what the Golden Tiger just drug in. Hey, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a golden tiger by his toe. If they say you're going to give an L, let them go. Kendrick, Coach Morgan, we will say Kendrick was the first to suggest that you be on the show this week. Okay. And there he goes. Because you see, because I would never. I would never. But shout out to Kendrick, Coach Morgan. Yeah.
How you doing, Coach Morgan?
I'm doing good, man.
Listen. As my brother from HBCU Nightly always says, that sometimes we have to eat our crow. And I got to eat my crow this week, okay? I got to eat my crow this week. Y'all take the shot. I got to eat my crow because I came on here.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I said that we were going to stop y'all winning streak. But when I tell you, y'all played 60 minutes of football. We played 59.58, okay? And y'all played 60 seconds. And y'all came down and y'all got a big-time win. Now, one thing about me is outside of this, when it comes down to the SIAC, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the program. You got a wonderful president. I know the staff you got down there. Y'all worked really hard. And it was a hard-fought win. I mean, it was a good game. There's a lot of conversation around who you schedule for homecoming, but you look at our conference this year, I mean, it don't matter who you schedule. If you don't come out there and play 60 minutes of football, you're going to get beat in the SIAC. And so I know that was a big time win, and I'm just happy for your program. And I guess one of the questions for me was, how did you prepare the guys to come in such an environment like a Tuskegee homecoming? I'll just say it's really not much like a Tuskegee homecoming. You see the crowd, you see the hostile environment, the chants. I meant, the chant is going to be chanting when you first walk down. It's like, how do you keep your guys focused? I mean, because they were so calm. I mean, even when we took the lead, with left y'all with like 26 seconds left. I mean, y'all were still calm on the sideline.
So from last Monday, when they walked into weights in the morning, we had Ball and Parlay blasting at every stop they were going to have that day. The cafeteria allowed us to blast it in the cafeteria. In practice, while we're going through pregame, blasting it. While they're stretching, blasting it. While we're practicing, blasting it. Just to the point to where when it came, it was just going to be second nature and it wouldn't take us out of our element. And true story is when the band started playing it, it had no effect on them because they just had been hearing it. Wednesday, we invited the entire student body out to practice, to stand on the sideline, just to have fun, to, listen to the music that we had extra loud and heckle us. And, they did a great job of doing that. I can tell you that. So it was just about creating distractions for them, but still allowing them and causing them to have to play through distractions, because at the end of the day, that's what it was going to be. It was going to be situational football. And I think I said this to Josh earlier. It's going to be situational football, and us not allowing the moment to get too big at any point in time during the game. So I was confident in knowing that we were okay when we went down 14 and we were able to claw back into it, and watching their body language and the fact that, they understood the expectation was for us to come there to win, and they saw it all the way through.
Definitely. And just like, once again, there was a monumental win for Edward. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
I tell you what, something that came out in the space was when we were talking about whether Edward Waters was about to get ready to go on one of these Benedict-ish type runs, because if you remember, like, that was the turning point in Benedict. When Benedict went down, they beat Miles for homecoming in Barry's first season down there. I mean, ever since then, it's been hard to beat Benedict. And I tell you what, it's been hard. We got to wear the L, but I tell you what, we got to come down there next year, coach. We not playing with y'all next year. We got to get our get back for that, coach. But yeah, I want to talk about, like, Nathan Rembert and Johnny Jones. I know they were but your other receivers really stepped up. I felt like Tuskegee made a change. At first, they were starting the freshman on Nathan Rembert, and I was like, wait, we got to get that freshman off Nathan, because he was beating him off the line. So when they switched Michael King on him, it was like, okay, that was a battle I was watching. But your other wide receivers really stepped up and made some big time plays.
This wide receiver core has been playing lights out, outstanding football. Truly this entire season. Guys like Devin Thompson, who I think 3 weeks in a row now, he's had the catch that's kind of extended the drive down there in 2 minutes, with less than 2 minutes, or at the 2 minute point, to set us up to win down in Savannah, as well as against our homecoming against Lane. And then he had a big catch down there in the corner this week. So, they're not a selfish group. They understand that, when the ball comes their way, they got to make plays. And I think that was only McCorker's second catch of the game. So, they stay in tune, and they're fans of one another. They block hard for each other. They want to see each other be successful. We got this touchdown celebration thing cleaned up, but they're down there and they celebrate each other's successes. So, that group, has really, really, exceeded expectation from that standpoint. And I still think the best of their football as a group is still ahead of them.
Well, when we talk about ahead, you've slayed one of the I think, as Kendrick likes to call them, the Blue Bloods in Tuskegee. Now you guys gotta go. You gotta go take down another one at Albany State. And if I'm not mistaken, is he an Albany State grad or Fort Valley? Albany State. Yeah. So again, another tough task. They're coming off of a loss to Allen, so they're going to be on high alert. But you guys are streaking and rolling. But this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is your you got this, and then you've got Allen, and then VUL. Just talk about again, trying to continue to establish you guys' brand and what you guys are doing. Right now, you guys, there's a bowl game, and 6 wins will qualify you. So it's just going to be really interesting to see who goes there. But just talk about you guys finishing up the rest of this season, starting with Albany State, and just trying to continue to establish what you guys have already got going on.
Well, there are a lot of interesting narratives this week, but we know the biggest narrative is, again, us keeping the main thing. It's just the main thing, and we know that Albany State, Coach Gray is going to have that team prepared to come in and to try to take the air out of us. So we know coming in, they're going to be eager to get a win, having dropped their homecoming last week. But we have to just kind of stay focused as to what's important, be obedient to our game plan, complete the game plan, and execute. You know, last week it was about keeping our composure and being resilient. This week, a lot of those same elements are going to be in the play, but we're going to have to execute and finish. So we know they're going to come in ready to play, and then right after that, we got another SIEC opponent, which is our rival in the AMU Classic. So it's not going to get any easier coming down here, and I don't think that we would want it any other way. But we're going to go out and we feel really good about who we are, the space we're in right now, the brand of football that we're playing. Definitely still some things we need to get better at. I don't think that this team has yet begun to peak from that standpoint. I think we're playing better football, but I still think as a team, we haven't played that complete game yet. So there's still the ability for us to continue to ascend. And the plan is, as we ascend, that wins come.
No doubt about it. Not only is your SID staff petulantly petty, they are also prompt with the information. This is the 21st meeting between Edward Waters and Albany State. And they say you and Coach Gray are longtime friends and high school teammates, actually. So quite so we meet again in a different way. As we get out of here, just talk a little bit about you and Coach Gray and your ties too. Interesting, these great notes, man. Wish we had these a little bit early.
Well, Coach Gray and I basically grew up together. We've been good friends since we were children. Gone to the same church, grew up in the same church, went to the same high school, played on the same teams, competed against each other, him at FAM, me at Tennessee State. So, and once we both got into coaching, that relationship has never gone away. We still talk very, very regularly. So, it's going to be really, really interesting. And that's how I know his team is going to be prepared, as will we, when they come in this week. Our high school is bringing up 4 buses to support it. So it's going to be a very, very competitive game, trying to create that homecoming atmosphere so the Jacksonville community can come out and have a family-oriented evening that's electric and see some really good football, and with Edward Waters coming out on top.
Awesome. Well, look, Coach, we could talk to you all night. Great stories and a great story that you guys are, but I know you got a game to prepare for and things like that. So we'll get you off from here. But Chris or Kendrick, any you guys got anything else you want to throw his way before we bid him adieu and get on with it?
Next year, Coach. Next year. But listen, like I told you at the beginning of the season when we had you on the SIAC space, I root for all SIAC teams every week but the week you play Tuskegee. And once again, congrats, big time win. And I'm looking to see big things out of Edward Waters.
No, thank you. And I appreciate y'all having me. It's been my pleasure. And I can continue to thank you for all that y'all do just for the HBCU sports and HBCU platform in general. Truly appreciate it.
We appreciate you, Coach. We'll try not to put too many more of your assistants on list to leave you and and everything like that. So but appreciate you again, Coach Morgan over at Edward Waters University. So the gang's all here, right? So let's just get straight to it, right? Edward Waters is one of these great stories that we're seeing out of the SIC, some as well. I want to bring this to everybody. I know you guys, clearly you guys have D2 in your Twitter name. So I know it's probably not hard for you guys to say this, but I think there's starting to become a consensus that this year, the excitement and the action so far has definitely been in D2 HBCU football. Both of you guys want to give me your opinions on why that is and if it will stick down through the stretch run.
I guess for me, when I saw it on our list, I was really giving a lot of thought to that. I think it's a perspective thing, but I also think when you look at like the SIAC, the SIAC has new teams, and with Allen joining the conference, and you have Edward Waters coming to the conference, it's creating a lot of different new rivals. Like that game with Tuskegee Edward Waters is becoming an instant classic. Two institutions that really don't have much history playing each other, other than the first time we played them. I think we beat them like 70 something to 0, whatever it was. And then for them to come back and beat us on our homecoming on the last play, Hail Mary, I think that energizes the conference. In our conference, you see like the Blue Bloods, or like the big three, as I call them, Albany State, Tuskegee, Fort Valley. You see them like taking it to the chin by some of these non-perennial powers that have come into power. Most recently, you had Miles come in and make a solid run. Now you got Benedict making a solid run. And then you see other schools like ascending. You get an Allen beating the Albany State. You get an Edward Waters beating the Tuskegee. I think in the words of my brother Herb, when he talks about parity in the conference, you're just starting to see it, and you're starting to see like different, a new fresh storyline. And I think as it relates to some of the FCS HBCUs, like, now I hate to say this because they might crucify me for this, but because they'll say that I ain't swag or not MEAC, but I think for the swag, like they're coming off this post Dion era, right? And there was a lot about this resurgence and this renaissance of HBCU talent. And then you look at them, they get beat by a couple of D2s, a couple of the MEAC teams get beat by a couple of the Division II schools, and it's like the Division IIs, like they're really on it, like they are really playing a good brand of football. And I think as long as the schools in the SIAC and the schools in CIAA build off this momentum, don't let the momentum die. Continue to recruit heavy, continue to hire good coaches. And get in there and compete. I mean, we being honest, it's a D2 show. We can compete with the salary ranges of some of these Division I HBCUs masquerading as Division I schools. Like, compete with them. Don't let them just come in and steal your coaches. You got good coaches, keep them there.
Great point. We did just drop the list, and there were several coaches that were there. Coach Berry obviously was on there. Coach Gibbs as well. Talk about potentially a move up to the FCS. There's another guy that I think, in a couple years will be on the list, but I'm trying to keep him tucked for later. But anyway, Chris, I'll ask you the same thing. I mean, for you, you're D2K Ferg, so you're heavy in this D2 game, right? Like you're in these D2 streets. Obviously the last couple of years, again, the MEAC and the SWAC having the celebration ball, I think it's been a great thing. And it's brought them some more attention and added some drama. But it seems like, again, this year, even in the CIAA, where, there's, still there's a ceiling and a floor. But, let's talk about why you think maybe this year is so much more just interesting at this level.
Well, when it comes to the CIAA, one of the things to kind of throw out is I think it's always exciting when you can get two teams ranked in the top 25. And that's exactly where the CIAA finds itself, with Virginia State and Virginia Union, both in that, upper 20s right now in both the major Division II polls. That bodes really well, especially when it comes to playoffs, because having those two teams in there and also having a Benedict at the same time means that you're going to have potentially three HBCUs playing at the highest levels of Division II for postseasons. So to me, that's really, really important and really exciting. Even when you look beyond just this year, I mean, the recent string of having CIAA players who are, in the discussion for the Harlan Hill Trophy, which is the Division II version of the Heisman. I think that's also exciting, and that just shows the quality of student athlete that these schools are able to recruit. And so, to me, when you think about that, if you think about how important is it for you to compete at the highest levels, this year is just one of those years that you've got some really, really strong teams, and you've got some up and comers. It's kind of like what Kendrick was saying. Like in the CIAA, you got Livingstone, who definitely adds quite an element of drama to things. You have Johnson C. Smith, who has been rather competitive this year. So, and you've got Lincoln. You can't even forget Lincoln in this case. And so, it's just one of those things where even like what looks like the middle of the conference forming this year has really been really exciting to watch as well. So there's just so much to think about, so many storylines to play out that it's hard to not be entertained.
I think you make a great point. The irony wasn't lost on me, though, when you talk about up-and-coming programs and you talk about the two oldest HBCU programs in Livingstone and Johnson C. Smith. I'm sorry, I just have, I have to do it. Anyway. So, yeah, great discussion there. It's been going on in the tweets, and we wanted to bring it here as well. You see every week, I think for me, what speaks for itself is every week, everybody's looking to the D2s to, who's the next team to come up, who's the next coach to come up, you know what I mean? And I think, even though it's for those of us who really appreciate the brand of D2 ball, it's at least says that there's value there and there's some excitement there, and so it's there. We have All American Nightmare says he agrees with D2 being on par with FCS. Let us see a true HBCU championship since no one really plays for playoff spots. I don't know. I saw Benedict in person the other day. I've seen North Carolina Central. Can I say that Benedict will win the game? No. Could I say that they would get blown out? I can't say that either. I think it would definitely be interesting. I haven't had a chance to lay eyes on a lot of SWAC teams other than Jackson State this year. Now, of course, we did. I don't think she's on anymore, but Ty's Alabama A&M squad, they put a hurting on the Tigers, but we see they're not running at peak position. And North Carolina Central put one on Winston-Salem State as well, even though they did score 21 points. So I think that, I think if you play them early enough in the year, I think the earlier you play, as we saw, then there's also Delaware State getting beat by Bowie State, who got beat by Livingstone. So does that mean Livingstone's now ready to play Division I football? Anyway, there's so it's just that much of a parity there. So, but we'll get.
One thing I want to say about that though, like, let's say you have like a theoretical HBCU championship that has the right sponsor, right? And you can get, each of those schools can get dollars. To me, I think what you've seen at the Division II level is you can see like a Division II team that's well funded compete with some of the tops in the FCS as well, like low to mid 20 top 25 schools. And I think we saw that even this year with like a Ferris State going to Montana, and a game that Ferris should have won, and Ferris was ranked number 1 in Division II at the time. And I think that when you have where the Division II schools have an opportunity to still recruit and at least build, like the 2D chart is strong enough to compete. The only difference between the two is offensive line play and depth, between FCS and Division II. So I think if you had the right game, the right sponsor, where the Division II schools are getting quite a bit of dollars, like the Celebration Bowl has done for FCS, then sure, maybe it turns into a much more competitive tournament.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we'll leave the conversation right there. You guys in the comments, tell us what you think. Be sure also to make sure you hit the notification button, and also make sure you follow us on Spotify. So if you have to cut in and out, we'll have the entire audio portion of this on podcast form, so you can make sure you won't miss anything that we said here. So we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna talk about some of the players from last week that were shining, and then we'll kind of transition over to this week's game before we close out. Over in the CIAA, man, Virginia State got a lot of players of the week this week, but again, that guy Jada Byers is quietly had quietly, if you can, have back-to-back 200-yard games. First against Elizabeth City the week before, and then just running all over as Bowie State was lambasted for the second straight week. Chris, just talk about Byers. I mean, we talked about him a lot last year, but just talk about him coming back and how you feel like he's looking as they continue to try to make this push and make it to where Virginia State's unbeaten, but it's only a tight window.
He looks good. End of story. What can you really say about Jada Byers? He was already a favorite to be top 5 in the Harlan Hill Trophy race to begin this season, and it's unfortunate that he had to be out for a couple games because you just had a feeling that he could have repeated what he did last year, and something like the Harlan Hill is just so driven on numbers, unfortunately, and so don't let the numbers fool you. He is just as good as advertised. You could tell that there was definitely a pickup in production in the run game when they shifted from the second, third string running back who are both great backs, by the way, and who are both have been in the top 10, top 5 for rushing when they played that week to a Jada Byers. That's how good he is. And so Virginia Union in general, with the fact that they have. If we're going to talk about players, you also got to talk about somebody like an Isaac Anderson on the defensive line, who's also having a monster year as well. So, Virginia Union's got a lot of great pieces to make a run and certainly challenge Virginia State for the Northern Division crown.
1, 2, Jada's coming for you. 3, 4, watch him score. 5, 6, tackles you'll miss. 7, 8, you're too late. 9, 10, Union scored again. All right, there we go. Over on the SIC, we started talking to his head coach a little bit earlier, but talk about Mr. Russell. Something you got to see first hand. Kendrick, talk about the game he played and just what you see out of him. I know we talked about David Wright all the time. We talk about Dunham. Just talk about what he brings as a quarterback.
One thing I think the contrast in the conference is we have a lot of young quarterbacks that are doing well, and we have a lot of senior leadership quarterbacks. So Jiren, his composure, they got down 14-0 and they never flinched. They were able to get a little pressure on him at the beginning, and then he just kind of got into his groove, and I think he went maybe 17 for 29 or 30, something like that, and for 324, and just been able to lead his team. I'm always talking about these championship drives. Tuskegee scored. I got to shout out Christopher Roberson, who got his second. Yeah, his first start because he came in at Morehouse. So he got his first true start, and he came down and we scored 2 touchdowns with, in under 2 minutes. So he did a wonderful job Saturday too. But Russell to come back with 26 seconds and lead his team down the field. He showed his arm strength on that last drive. And to me, he showed that he's a leader of men. He was able to rally his troop. And it's like I said when Coach Morgan was on here, they just did not panic. I think they felt like they could go down and score, and they did that. And that Edward Waters offense is potent with him behind it. I also want to just say something about Dennis too. I know Dennis is not as flashy as some of the other quarterbacks. That's the quarterback at Benedict. But there was a lot of talk about David Wright or Durham being the best quarterback in the conference. And so then we saw them kind of go head to head, and you saw David Wright really fell on the back end of that. And so a lot of people were crowning Durham, as being the best quarterback. And even I was saying he's the best quarterback. Then I think one of the little things that went under the radar was that we also had what could be arguably the second best or even the best quarterback in the conference, because he does not have the interceptions that the other two ahead of him has. And Dennis and Durham, go head to head. And then I think Dennis went, let me check that right quick because I want to be accurate when I say that. Dennis went 16 for 25 for 324 on Fort Valley. Like just quarterback play around the conference is really big, and the conference has moved away from being a run and gun 3 yards in the cloud of dust, and quarterbacks are making it happen in this conference.
The forward pass has become a thing in the SIC, and you love to see it. So we'll go into this week from here. We'll start off over in the CIAA, and then we'll go over to the SIC and kind of go back and forth. So Johnson C. Smith and Fayetteville State. Chris, Johnson C. Smith, another team that got a fight out of St. Augustine's University at their homecoming. It wasn't quite a homegoing, but it was what it was. Fayetteville State, they're never sexy, but they won. They survived Livingstone. The offense came alive in the fourth quarter. Just talk about this matchup, because this is a matchup that I think a lot of people, even outside of Charlotte, because I think the game is in Charlotte. No, it's in Fayetteville. It's in Fayetteville because it's their homecoming, I think.
CSU's got like several homecomings in a row, including their own.
Oh, okay, I got you. So yeah, Fayetteville State is their homecoming. So, shout out to my guy G. Napier Barnes, who always likes to remind me that Bronco pride is nationwide and Ram pride is only on MLK Drive. Even he doesn't believe that, but shout out to my guy. Talk to me, Johnson C. Smith and Fayetteville State. What do you think about this game, Chris? Neither one of them have looked particularly confident building the last couple of weeks, but here they are.
Yeah, if you looking at this game, I think you really got to start with, it's going to be a defensive battle. John C. Smith has a really solid defense, and Fayetteville State has a bend but don't break attitude as well. And they're both getting matched up against opposing offenses that have their struggles. For the Golden Bulls, you've got Robert Adams, who has just really, really struggled as of late. And it's really put a lot of pressure on the running game that just hasn't been there. And that's a shame, given that the wideouts that they have in Brevin Caldwell and Reggie Bryan and a few other of those guys. They just can't. The quarterback play just hasn't been that great, and the offense has really struggled as a result. If you're looking at Fayetteville State, sometimes we see teams playing two quarterbacks. This is a team that could play three quarterbacks in one game and do it repeatedly. It looks like maybe they've kind of settled down a little bit back to the two quarterback rotation they had last year. But again, it's a team that's had some struggles and certainly had them on the rushing game and potential fumbles. So it's one of those things that, between the 20s, maybe Fayetteville State can do some things. When they get inside, you kind of get a little concerned. But they do have the kicking game. And for me, the kicking game was always an edge for Fayetteville State. So, certainly not a game that I would be picking John C. Smith as an upset. It certainly isn't a game that looked as attractive as it did earlier this year when these two teams were, really running and gunning. They're kind of going to be slugging this one out, I think.
You get ugly down there in Vietnam. We'll go over to the SIC next. Allen University versus Miles College. Allen picked themselves up off the ground last week and managed to sting Albany State at its homecoming. They go down the road to those folks over in Fairfield, Alabama. Talk to me, Kendrick. What are you thinking about this matchup, man? This is Allen trying to become the new Miles?
I don't know about all that, and I hate because when I talk on here, they clip it, man. So and I don't want no more crow. But I'll say this. I think Miles is 2 in offense, 2 in defense. Benedict is 1 in offense. Benedict is 2 in 1 in offense and defense. when we start talking about the tiers in the conference, I think Miles is a really strong team. You saw them kind of get into like a struggle with Morehouse, but Morehouse is just it's one of those teams that you just, if you get caught sleeping on, they can get you. But I really think Miles gets it together this game. I think they understand. Last week it was total chaos in the SIAC. If Allen beats Miles Saturday, you talking about real chaos in the SIAC. So I just got to go with Miles. I think Miles might be too big up front for Allen. But I tell you what, Allen's one shot that they would have is Miles tends to get off to these slow starts. It just takes them a while to get going and get in the game system. If David Wright can go and string together a couple of drives, gone punch Miles in the mouth, they might have a chance. But with David Wright's tendency to throw the ball up, those 50-50 balls, that's secondary for Miles. They're not having it. They're too linky. They're too tall. They're ball hawks, man. And I think that they probably can get 4 or 5 interceptions if he just throws that ball up.
Okay. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. We've got Virginia Union, and everybody in the CIAA has decided to have their homecoming this weekend. And Union chose a traditional homecoming CIAA opponent. If you haven't homecoming, Lincoln's been that team since they've been in the league. But I don't know, Chris. Okay, before we get there, we'll get to Virginia Union because Dr. Parker and his defense. We talk about Jada Byers, but like you say, Dr. Parker and his defense have been doing some amazing stuff. We got a clip. He's going to talk about it in a little bit. But their run defense has been ran on 200 times, and they have only allowed 208 yards. They are allowing 1 yard per carry, 30 yards per game. Just nasty. Just stink. That defense is stink. Like, it's not stinking, it's stinking. Just, talk to us about Virginia Union and they're looking strong now, but I don't know. Is Lincoln the best team that they played? Is Lincoln? I mean, no. I know Fayetteville State beat them at home.
Yeah,
by a field goal, but is the prophet of? Are we on Prophet of Doom watch? That's what we really need to know.
Shout out to the quarterback coach at Lincoln, Tuskegee, one of the Tuskegee greats. So just want to throw that in there.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Lincoln has a lot going for itself. They've got an offense that can definitely move the ball. Certainly not it's got a serviceable run game, but Lincoln kind of wins games with a combination of Isaiah Freeman being mobile at the quarterback spot and also his arm, and they've got quite a bit of great receivers to throw it to, and you don't necessarily have to key on one receiver as my fantasy football teams learned. So it's one of those things where it's not going to be like the Lincoln of old. If you think about a couple of years ago when Virginia Union went 90-0 on Lincoln, it's not going to be that kind of game. It's going to be a way, way, way more competitive than that. But the problem with Lincoln is going to be certainly stopping that run game, and that's going to provide some real challenges for them on homecoming. But I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I don't think that VUU will just run away with this one.
What's your over-under on Jada Byers' yards? Or what's your over-under on VUU rushing yards in this game?
VUU rushing yards probably going to be somewhere around, I'd say 265.
And do you give Lincoln a chance to get better than 1 yard per carry? Minus Isaiah Freeman.
Oh, no.
Here we go. All right, Lincoln, you still got some proving to do there, but a much better season for you guys. Next up, we've got Edward Waters versus Albany State. We talked about it a little bit earlier with Coach, but what are you seeing in this game, Kendrick? What are your thoughts on this matchup? Again, as Edward Waters, fresh off the Tuskegee win, you think that they can catch Albany State, or are they just a better team than Albany State?
Yeah, so I think that's where the conversation has to lie. It's like, is Edward Waters a better team than Albany State? I think one of the things that to note is that these games are really intense now. When I look over the conference, like all the games are really chippy and intense because the way the format is set up now, normally this time of year, you lose a game, when you're in your divisions, when they have like 4 teams in the division, 4 or 5 teams in the division, your chances of going to championship games were just about up because you needed the other team to lose 2 games at this point in the season. However, now, I mean, it's wide open, especially for that second spot. I pretty much assume that Benedict will win out, and that's me assuming, but I really believe that Benedict will win out. So I think when you got an Edward Waters that understands that, there are a lot of narratives out about, what could possibly happen, but the main thing is winning out. I think for Albany State, they're going to have to be able to keep Edward Waters in check offensively. I think they'll be able to score. I think Edward Waters, like their defense, like you can score in their defense, but can you get stops? 2 or 3 stops, and you can come out with a win. But they got to go to Jacksonville, and I just think right now that Edward Waters wave is so high, and I'm almost want to say, man, them boys got God on their side or something. I mean, now I don't know if y'all showed the clip earlier.
We did.
But more importantly than the first time he threw the ball down there was the first time he threw the ball down there. Now, it's some question about what Tuskegee should have done that second time, but I mean, he threw that ball down there twice, or that they could have won that game. And I just think they're playing. I know Coach said he don't believe they have not peaked yet. They got some penalties to clear up. And you're going against Albany State, that's a well-disciplined team in that regards. But, I mean, we hit them in the mouth 14-0, and they came back. So I think it's going to be a tough out for Albany State, and I'm going Edward Waters to get that win.
Well, you heard it there. Hey, a couple weeks ago, I said Livingstone was going to need some AME Zion prayers and against Winston, and guess who got taken to church that week? Speaking of the Stone, they've got homecoming down there in Salisbury, another CIAA homecoming. Livingstone coming off of it was on a 2-game winning streak. Looked like they may be taking down Fayetteville State early on. They got the 7-0 lead. I think we got a clip of that where they were feeling pretty good about themselves.
Blueberries early. Carry cut inside for a first down and more, all the way inside of the 20, reaching towards the pylon and in for a touchdown.
Yeah, things were looking good there for 3 quarters and some change, and then Fayetteville State showed the heart of a champion and took advantage of what they had going on there. But this matchup against Shaw, both teams are 2-5. They both have played a couple common opponents. Both of them have played Winston-Salem State. Livingstone was able to beat Winston-Salem State, and Shaw was not. What do you think about this game? These are kind of 2 teams that, these are 2 teams I thought coming in could kind of play maybe spoilers, and, maybe they still will moving forward. But what are your feelings about Livingstone and Shaw for homecoming 2023?
I mean, one team's trending up, one's trending down. I mean, let's just start there. And the fact that, we're talking about Livingstone is the one that's trending up says a whole lot. It's just really problematic that Shaw's had the kind of season that they've had. And I just want to point out, too, so Livingstone's quarterback is Marcus Drish. He's 2-1 as a starter. I mean, there's the reason, one of the big reasons why Livingstone's able to do what they've been able to do, because he's played really, really smart. He uses his legs when he needs to pick up first downs. He's certainly got a favorite target in Devontae Deloach, but he's also got other targets. Matthew Henry and Angel Carrillo, and the defense is very tough nose, so hard nosed defense. So I just think that with Shaw, where they are right now with injuries, offensive line play, I just think that Shaw is just going to be in for a long afternoon, especially if you ever listen to a Livingstone game like on the CIAA Sports Network. I mean, Livingstone and Lincoln are actually like probably the two funnest games to watch because they just seem so live. I mean, and it's homecoming too. Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting, fun atmosphere, I imagine. And I expect Livingstone to go 3-1 in their last 4 games.
Ooh. Somebody got some confidence in those guys. Yeah, they they're so for $30. Everybody's gonna have a chance to go into the stadium. So it'll be interesting to see how many people meander into the stadium over there at Alumni Stadium. It'll be interesting to see how many people show up there for $30. Man, you get not only a game, but you also get an old school concert, Cool Modi, and you get the baby. The baby is so for $30. That's if you're into that sort of thing. So it's it'll be pretty interesting. So we'll finish up with the SIC. We kind of talked about the most competitive games there. There's what'll be the biggest blowout of the week, Kendrick? Let me ask you that. Will it be your Tigers getting their face back against another Tiger? Will it be Benedict whooping up on Kentucky State? Who's the biggest blowout this week?
Okay, now I'm not gonna let you. I love my Tigers, but you're not finna make me say that we finna go down there and blow Savannah State out. No, I know that you're not getting me into that. That's just historically like one of those teams that we just have problems. We haven't played them since like 2000, but we're not going. I know they saw last week homecoming, so them boys gonna throw everything they got. But I think the blowout to me, or at least what I want to be the blowout, is Benedict. We saw Kentucky State play Grand Valley, and I think Grand Valley put up 65 on them, 65-7. When you start talking about this Benedict team, looking down the line, looking at Super Region 2, peeping at when regional rankings, are right around the corner. I really want to see how, I want to see Benedict dominate that game in a way, because the more I look at Benedict, the more I see them, the more I believe that this is a team that can make a deep run in the playoffs. So I really want to see them dominate the teams they're supposed to dominate. They ain't got to put 60 on them, but they need to, at least 50. Give me 50. I need a 50 piece on Kentucky State this week by Benedict.
Okay. No playing with their food this week. Chris, talking about playing with the food. Winston-Salem State's got St. Aug. They come in averaging a blistering. Are they still under 3 points a game?
I haven't checked lately, but oh my gosh, probably. With this Winston-Salem State team, you got to throw out the stats because Livingstone came in only allowing 35 a game, and they only let Winston score 21. So there's that. For WSSU, they're still, they've got the outside chance. They need some prayers and some wins and some chicken bones to go their way. What did you think you saw out of the Rams last week, Chris? Some signs of life against the Bears, from Shaw. Well, so first of all, St. Aug is averaging 5.6 points a game. They have assumed the spot Lincoln used to reside in as the worst scoring team in the country. So I'm going to have to start putting out the St. Aug watch, to see if they can get out of the basement, because we just don't want that. We don't want that for them. But Winston State, you never know who's going to have a breakout game for Winston State outside of like Mr. Reliable RJ Mobley at wide receiver. And so you can have like an Asa Barnes, you can have Gabe Lennon, you can have those guys that step up. The defense sometimes is the one who's creating opportunities, special teams as well. They have some great returners, like Jatwan Stafford or Lennon back there returning kicks. One of those things about Winston State is just they find creative ways to win games. And when they're clicking, they are really on it. And the one thing that's different about Winston State this year than it has been the last couple of years is just simply quarterback play has been way better. They've been willing to use Dalen Lee to take shots down the field. And not every time we'll connect, and that's okay. But there have been times where they're just really big plays that come out of that and stretching the field. Sometimes play calling is a little frustrating, but nonetheless, it's definitely a team that, has an opportunity to, win more games in a season than they have in a while. And I think certainly a team that has the opportunity to go 500. Probably not what some people want to hear, but it is something that is a distinct possibility. And the way that Fayetteville State's playing right now, they have an opportunity to even have a winning season. So it's one of those teams, they're just hard to predict, right? But we'll see what happens, against the St. Aug team that, this is probably my blowout game of the week.
Okay. And lastly, we'll get out of here. We'll talk about one team on each school in each conference that seems like they're trending down. We'll start with Fort Valley State. They played Benedict, but you got to wonder about their health too. I think they took a couple shots there as well. 5-2, still a great record, but Kendrick, what's your prognostication for the rest of the season for Fort Valley State? Do you think that they'll win out the rest of their games, or you're not quite sure at this point?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not gonna just agree with the premise that they're trending down. I just think Benedict is just, as Damien would say, a buzzsaw. And you just get a Benedict team on a Thursday night on a short week. Your quarterback is not 100% healthy. And I think what I saw a lot from the Fort Valley team was that they were disappointed in how they played. So I really look for them this week to bounce back. So I won't judge them by that Benedict game. I think they've shown. I mean, they beat the Allen team that just went and beat the Albany State. It's there. They just, like you said, healthy. That goes back to what I'm always saying. We need a week 0. I think the only team that looks to be trending down in the conference is arguably Savannah State.
And Chris, you started this season as the Prophet of Doom with Bowie State University. Took a little while, but we've seen not 1, not 2, but 3 consecutive losses. The last 2 in blowout fashion. Bowie State, they've got chance they can still finish 6-4. They're 3-4, just like Winston-Salem State. They're 3-4 as well. Just Bowie State University. Where will they finish in the CIAA North? Do you have them finishing 3rd behind the Virginia schools, or do you think maybe Lincoln is going to sneak up there?
Well, if there's a doom alert for this weekend, this is probably it, because the one thing I like about Bluefield is that, they do have an offense. They know they can rack up a lot of yards. I'm a little concerned about what they can do inside the 20, but these are 2 teams that certainly got a lot to sort of figure out, and can they finish 6-4? Absolutely. I mean, when you look at their schedule, you see they got Bluefield, Elizabeth City, and Lincoln to finish out the regular season. It's very possible, but something tells me that they're going to drop one of those 3 games, and they're going to be more of a 500 team. And so, I don't know, man. This is definitely a doom alert this weekend.
Just keep Tuskegee off your doom alert, man. You know what? Because I go all the way back to that year when I was telling you about when you was like Winston-Salem hadn't won a game. You're like, I feel like they're gonna get their first win against Tuskegee. But no, just keep Tuskegee out. You know what? You banned from Tuskegee, dog. You don't get Tuskegee at all.
Shades of homecoming 2016. Right back at you. Hey, we're gonna wrap it up there before any of us end up in any more clips, which I kind of enjoyed it. Anyway, I appreciate everybody for tuning in this week. Again, make sure you guys check this out on Spotify. You can listen to it if you missed any part of it, or if you just want to relive the things that we said again. And who knows what Summer Jam screens will be showing up on next week. You'll have to stay tuned. But anyway, appreciate everybody for Chris and Kendrick. Make sure you guys remember the D2 HBCU Football Matters, and we will see you next week.